Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to my December Oscar predictions. We didn't have one for November. I recorded one for November, but I figured it was only going to be like a few days before December, so let's just re-record it and do a December one. Um, a good amount has changed since my last predictions. We really have a good idea about pretty much every movie besides Nightmare Alley right now. Um, so yeah, let's get right into it with the biggest one, Best Picture. Number one, right now I do have number one is Belfast. I don't think it's not my predicted winner, but I do have it as number one because it is the front runner. I am sensing I don't think it's going to keep that front runner status. I think it's going to be a curse to it. I'm sensing already a bit of a small backlash against it, and I think that will only develop as it continues to be seen, and I think underwhelm certain people. Um, so yeah, that is the current front runner still, but I think it is going to lose that status very soon. Number two, Licorice Pizza, a movie that could very well take over the frontrunner status. I'm building a lot of buzz right now, lots of buzz. This is a movie that I can't really see lots of people disliking. I think most people will enjoy this movie. It really appeals to a lot of people. There's not much you can ding against it. It seems like, besides maybe one or two smaller racist potential things, but it seems like overall, huge contender. Definitely going to get nominated. I think could become the frontrunner to win. Number three, Power of the Dog. I don't think this will ever win. Way too artsy, but I think it's definitely going to get nominated. As simple as that. Number four, West Side Story. Still my current predicted winner as of right now. We've got as of today, some quick initial reviews and reactions to the movie. As expected, Spielberg delivered. It's a really good movie. And yeah, we haven't really seen a situation like this where a previous Best Picture winning movie is getting a English language remake, as because we've seen remakes of foreign films before. But yeah, this is a very unique situation. I think the Academy is just going to eat this movie up. It's going to contend in like pretty much every category besides some of the acting ones. Yeah, so definitely that's still my predicted winner. Watch out for West Side Story. Number five, King Richard, another crowd pleaser. I don't think it will have enough buzz and strength to win per se, or to even really truly compete for a win. Maybe, but it's definitely getting nominated. Number six, Being the Ricardos. Haven't seen this one, but obviously lots of buzz about it. When the reviews, initial reactions came out a few weeks back. It's Aaron Sorkin, it's Nicole Kidman as Lucille Ball, Javier Bardem, all of that. It's definitely getting in there. I don't think it could really win right now. It doesn't seem like that kind of movie. But I think it's definitely getting a nomination. Seven, Dune. Sad to have it this low down, but even at number seven, I think Dune is still absolutely, I would say, a lock to get nominated. It's the technical juggernaut. It will be the movie of all of these movies that has the most general audience appeal, which would be good to have one of those, especially now that Gucci is not going to be that. Yeah, huge technical achievement. Seems like pretty much everyone likes it. So yeah, number seven would be that. Number eight, Nightmare Alley. I have it this low because it's a mystery right now. It's an unknown. Hasn't screened as of the time of recording. To any critics, we haven't seen any reactions to it. Comes out in a few weeks in late December. It looks, I mean, it's Guillermo del Toro's follow up to Shape of Water, so you have to put some stock in that. I think it's going to get a push. I think they want it to get into Best Picture. There's always a chance, yeah, because Del Toro is not always the most consistent director. He's usually pretty consistent, but there's a chance it might not be too much of the fit too much into the Academy's taste. But right now, I think it would still get in at my number eight. Number nine, Don't Look Up. You know, I didn't have faith in this earlier. I stated that in previous predictions. I was wrong. We saw the reactions and reviews to it. I think it's definitely getting in there. Yeah, I think all of those top nine are very likely. I think pretty much everyone's top 10, you're going to find those top nine that I just stated. And then the 10th spot, because this year we're getting 10 spots finally, is where everyone seems to be having different final predictions for, or final thoughts on. For this last spot, I have a few movies fighting for it. I have Come On fighting for that 10th spot. I have Coda fighting for that 10th spot. Last Duel, I still think has a shot. Passing, I think has a shot. And Tragedy of Macbeth, maybe. Um, Other movies that I don't think would have a huge shot. Spencer, there's Tick Tick Boom, House of Gucci. I don't think so. All that. I think don't count out The Harder They Fall as well. I think that could have a late surge. I think people do really, really, really like that movie, rightfully so. Right now for the 10th spot, I think I want to give it to Passing. I think it could be Coda. I'm going to, you know what? Let's just go for it. For that 10th spot, I'm going to give it to The Harder They Fall. Why the heck not? Even though very likely not going to happen. I'm just, who knows what that 10th spot I think is probably more likely if you're going to go off of likelihood. Come on, or Coda for that spot. Now on to Best Director. At number one, I still have Dune, or Denis Villeneuve for Dune. It's the technical achievement out of all the directors and what they've done with their films this year. It's easily the biggest technical achievement, and the branch obviously loves that. There's always the opportunity to award him for part two, but I'm leaning towards Denis right now. Number two, though, very likely to come up and take it from him. Jane Campion for The Power of the Dog. It would be great to have two women win Best Director 2 years in a row. But beyond that, what she does here as a director is really, really good. I've seen it a few times now. There's very lots of great, just creative decisions. There's a clear artistry on display. It's a beautiful film. She clearly knows what she's doing. This is kind of her comeback after a little bit of a break, it seemed like. Yeah, so definitely Jane Campion at my number two. My number three, I have Paul Thomas Anderson for Licorice Pizza. The movie is like getting up there, like in the top echelons of contenders. I think he's going to ride that wave with it. He gets in a lot of the times when his movies are contenders into director. So he's my number three. Four and five, I'm having tricky time with. I think for my number four, I'm going to go Kenneth Branagh for Belfast. I think there is still a chance that he misses out here because this is a film, like I said, I think it's going to be falling down the ranks. I think there's going to be a slight backlash to it. And this is a film where he doesn't have there's not a ton of like vision on display here from him, or artistry or creativeness. He directs it, and it's not very notable direction, in my opinion. But yeah, I think he could very likely miss. But right now, because the movie is such a big frontrunner, I do think he'll still probably get in there. And then for my last spot, it's between a few people. It's between Guillermo del Toro, Steven Spielberg, and Ronaldo Marcus Green for the last spot. I don't think Marcus Green will get in there, sadly. Well, not sadly. I don't think he'll get in there. And then I think I'm going to go. My number five is Steven Spielberg for West Side Story. I think it's going to be a huge, like I said, huge overall contender. It's Spielberg. He delivered the goods here. That's really all you need. Yeah, and I think they may be feeling this is the time to finally re-reward Steven Spielberg. It's been a while since he's gotten a lot of recognition. I believe his last nomination was Lincoln, which is a while ago. And who knows, he could maybe even win because, he probably doesn't have a ton of movies left to make. So I feel like they're going to honor him at some point sometime soon. And yeah, like I said, other ones, I think Guillermo would be my number six then. Just looks very well directed, especially technically. So I think he could take Branagh or Spielberg's spot there. We just have to see the movie. Then outside of that, Ronaldo Marcus Green, Julia DiCarno for Titan, Adam McKay, I don't think we'll get in for Don't Look Up, and maybe Pablo Larraín for Spencer. But those would be my top five. Now on to Best Actor. The current frontrunner, still the frontrunner. Number one is Will Smith. We've seen the movie now. I personally enjoyed his performance. I think he did a good job, one of his better performances. I really liked him in it. So I think he would be deserving of a win. And I mean, the narrative right now is just too strong to deny. He seems, out of all the acting categories, like the biggest frontrunner lock. I wouldn't say he's a lock just yet, but I would say he's, out of all the acting categories, has the biggest lead out of everyone else. But then at number two, Benedict Cumberbatch for The Power of the Dog. Also seen this great performance, also his best performance in his career. Really good stuff. I think I slightly like Cumberbatch's performance more, but I think Smith is just hard to deny at this point. Number three, Denzel Washington for Tragic Macbeth. I still have him getting in there. I'm thinking of moving Andrew Garfield above him because I'm feeling Macbeth may just like not get many nominations at all. I don't have it getting much. Denzel's one of the few nominations I still have it getting. So I do think he could miss out, but right now it's Denzel playing Macbeth. It's hard to say, oh, that's not going to get nominated. But like I was saying, number three, Andrew Garfield for, or number three was Denzel. Number four is Andrew Garfield for Tick Tick Boom. I've seen the movie now. What everyone says is absolutely correct. This may be my favorite lead performance, lead male performance of the year. Not completely sure yet. Have to see it again, but he's really good. He does everything. He's asked to display so many different emotions and all that within this movie. Really, really good stuff. He's definitely getting nominated, and if he isn't, it would be a huge snub. And then number five, Leonardo DiCaprio for Don't Look Up. I also was denying this along with the movie, but out of the reactions, everyone says he is easily the standout performance of the entire film, which says something if you look at the ensemble. So yeah, I feel like he's got to get in there. I think he's taking, sadly, Peter Dinklage, who was my number six. He's taking his spot for Cyrano. But who knows? Maybe he gets Dinklage could take Washington's spot. Then also on the outsides looking in, we have Javier Bardem, I think, who could sneak in potentially for being the Ricardos, because that movie overall seems like a big contender and people say he's good in it. Joaquin Phoenix for Come On, Come On, but it is more subtle work from Phoenix here, and we see when Phoenix gets nominated, it's for some of his more larger than life performances, rather than his subtle work like in this or in Her. And then also Mahershala Ali for Swan Song. People say it's his best performance yet, which is high praise for an actor like Mahershala Ali, so you never know. And then Cooper Hoffman for Licorice Pizza, because the movie is overall such a huge contender. Another, you never know. It has potential, but probably not. But yeah, that's Best Actor. Best Actress, Kristen Stewart is still the front runner. She's still my number one for Spencer, but I'm feeling she's less of a front runner now than she used to be. When you see the reactions and reception to the film, especially from general audiences, it's very mixed. I'm concerned some Academy members may not even make it through like the first 20 minutes of the film. They may drop out. They may miss a lot of the performance. But she still has the most buzz easily out of everyone surrounding her, so she would still be my number one. But I would say she is definitely not a clear front runner at this point. I would say there's clear competition, and she could easily lose. But she's still my number one. Then number two, her biggest competitor right now, I would say, is Olivia Colman for The Lost Daughter. You know, I haven't seen this movie, but it's Olivia Colman. People say it's Olivia Colman's best performance, which, like with Mahershala, that's huge praise for an actress like her. For people to say it's her best performance, and as we've seen with other award ceremonies like the Emmys recently, where she beat another Princess Diana, or previous Oscar ceremonies, they really love her. I think she's in this honeymoon period with the Academy, where we've seen this with other actors like Mahershala, who won 2 years, 2 times within a few years, Tom Hanks and such. When you're in that honeymoon period, they really like you. So I think she could definitely get her second Oscar here. So yeah, look out for her. Number three, Nicole Kidman for being the Ricardos. People say she's really good in this. So I've seen some people say that she's now their number one pick to win. I could see her winning, to be honest. Definitely has possibility, but I haven't seen it, so I can't really speak to it. But she's playing Lucille Ball. People say she does a really good job. It's Nicole Kidman. The movie's an overall big contender, so yeah, she's definitely getting in. Number four, Jessica Chastain for Eyes of Tammy Faye. I've seen a lot of people kicking her out of their top five because the film came out a while ago. Doesn't have a ton of buzz, but I still something about it that's just like that performance is the pure definition of Oscar performance bait. So I still see it getting in there. I don't see a world where she doesn't get nominated personally. But you never know. And then that number five spot is kind of where we have a lot of different people fighting for this last spot, and I currently have a lot of hate for Licorice Pizza. People say she is the standout performance of the whole film. Great breakout performance. And the film overall, huge contender. I think she's getting in there. That's who I would have right now. Number six, Tessa Thompson for Passing. This is more of a personal hope prediction because I've seen Passing, and Tessa Thompson is so good in it. Like, I know lots of people put focus on Ruth Negga in that movie, deservedly so. She's great, but I think Tessa Thompson does an even better job, and I think she's given the harder job to do with the more subtle work, and she just nails it. So I really hope she gets nominated. That's why she's my number six. But yeah, you never know. Number 7, Lady Gaga for House of Gucci. The movie not getting great reviews overall. I kind of saw that coming. Uh, but I would right now. I don't think she's going to get in there because the movie is kind of not getting great reception. I'll have to see how the Academy thinks of it. But right now I would say no. Um, then number 8, Penelope Cruz for Parallel Mothers. Certainly possible, but the film isn't contending in international. It's not even going to get nominated, so I don't think truly that will happen. And then these last two ones are just kind of like probably never going to happen, but they've still got some buzz. Jennifer Hudson for Respect and Jodie Comer for The Last Duel. It could happen, probably not going to. Yeah, so that's Best Actress. Now onto the craziest acting category of them all, Best Supporting Actor. This is just like I don't think I've ever quite seen a category like this, where it's like there's not even one like slight frontrunner or lock going on here, which is insane. But yeah, my number one is currently Bradley Cooper. Cooper. My number one is currently Bradley Cooper for Licorice Pizza. Um, People say he has a small role within the film. We've seen people win for small roles before, like Judi Dench. People say he is a standout, even though he is in a small role. So I think that will be enough right now, especially since he's so overdue. He's gotten nominated so many times. Plenty of people will think it is his time. He's a standout within the film. That's really the best I can do for this category right now as for a winner. Number 2 would be Ciarán Hinds for Belfast. People say he's probably the biggest standout supporting male performance, a little more than Jamie Dornan within that movie. The movie's a huge contender. He'll probably get in there. John Bernthal for King Richard is my number 3. I think it's pretty looking pretty good for him. The movie overall is a huge contender. He gives a good performance in it. He's an actor who like works all the time, so I'm sure plenty of people have worked with him. He's in like 3 movies this year alone. And yeah, it's kind of a different role for him. So yeah, I think he'll probably get nominated. The number 4 is the one I'm kind of like dreading here. Jared Leto for House of Gucci. I've seen it. I really don't enjoy his performance, but it's kind of a baby performance where you can see if it resonates with them, that they're going to nominate it. I mean, it's like big. It has a ton of makeup in it. Yeah. So I hope he doesn't win, but I mean, if he almost got in for the little things, I think him getting in for this is looking pretty likely, sadly. It's kind of like the Hillbilly Elegy route of like the one wacky performance getting in there, one wacky supporting performance, and the it getting in for makeup, and that's right now all I would see for House of Gucci nomination wise. And then number 5, my last spot, J.K. Simmons for Being the Ricardos. It's J.K. Simmons. People say he's good in the movie. People have started predicting him who have seen the movie for supporting actor. He just won like a few years ago for Whiplash. Yeah, that's really the only reasoning I can have behind that right now because this category is insane. Also, beyond the top 5, keep your eyes out for David Alvarez and Michael Feist, I believe, in West Side Story. Both could sneak in there. Jamie Dornan for Belfast, definitely. I think you could see a double, as we've seen the past few years, a double nominee here in supporting actor for Hines and Dornan. Also, keep your eye out for Al Pacino in House of Gucci. I personally liked his performance more than Leto's, but yeah, I think you could definitely see him getting in there. Troy Kotzer maybe for Coda if it actually happens, but I still don't think Coda will happen. Jason Isaacs for Mass. That movie is kind of dead, but it's possible. Now on to Best Supporting Actress. My number 1 currently is Katrina Balfe for Belfast. She seems like most people's current frontrunner. I haven't seen it, so I can't really completely speak to it. But it seems like she is the biggest performance standout within the movie. So I feel like she has the most buzz surrounding her to win right now, but easily another potential winner. Number 2, Kirsten Dunst for Power of the Dog. I have seen it. For some reason, this is going to be her first nomination, and she's very overdue for a nomination, and I think lots of people feel that way. As I think there was an interview with Kristen Stewart recently, and she's like, "What? She's never been nominated." So I think she could definitely win too, even if it is her first nomination. Then number 3, Ingenue Ellis for King Richard. She's got her big standout scene within the film. I wish we got more of her within the film, but it is a true supporting performance. And yeah, she has her big kitchen FYC scene that will certainly play when she gets nominated for her Oscar clip. Uh, Number four, Ruth Negga for Passing. She's really good in this movie. It's a very showy role. She's very extroverted and such, and she's a standout within the film. So I think she could definitely, as we see with the supporting performances in particular, there's usually at least one or two that's from a movie that isn't nominated for picture. So I would say that's probably Ruth Negga for Passing in this case, and Leto in the previous category. Um, and then in my fifth spot, I have two West Side Story people fighting out for it: Ariana DeBose and Rita Moreno. Um, People say who I've seen it just today have said that they're both standouts within it. I would lean right now. I would give my five spot to Ariana DeBose because it is an previous Oscar-winning role. It's clearly the bigger role of the two, and I think she's out there. She's always like the person promoting this movie of everyone. So I think she is the most likely of them all, compared to Rita. And then number seven would be Kate Blanchett for Nightmare Alley. You know, it's a mystery. It's a mystery movie right now. We never know, but especially in the most recent trailer, she looked to be quite the standout. She got a lot of the spotlight. And I mean, it's Kate Blanchett, so that alone is reason enough to put her in your top 10. Number eight, Meryl Streep for Don't Look Up. She's playing a Trump-esque president. It's a comedic role. We don't get to see her do comedy a lot. It's Meryl Streep, just like with Kate Blanchett, but even more so. You never count them out. And then down here at the bottom, and down for Mass. She's the most likely, I would say, of all of the actors within that movie, but still, I don't think it's going to happen. And then Judi Dench for Belfast. It seems like Balf has gotten most of the supporting attention for that, and I don't think Dench will happen, but it's possible, I guess. Then on to Best Original Screenplay. This is where I currently would have PTA winning his first Oscar, finally. For Licorice Pizza, he is overdue. The whole industry knows he's overdue. It's a whole campaign that's building up surrounding this movie, and I think this is where you reward him. The number two would be Belfast. I used to think this is where they would award Kenneth Branagh, since he won't be winning director. But as I've said, the buzz. I think it's going to die down for that, and I don't think I think he's going to walk away empty-handed come Oscar night. But he'll definitely get a ton of nominations. Number three, King Richard. It's a huge picture contender. That is, if it is an original, I know there's talk about it maybe being an adapted, but I think it'll probably get into either. And in this case, right now, as of now, it would be King Richard in original. Number four, being the Ricardos. I mean, it's Aaron Sorkin, and he wrote a script in a movie that's going to get nominated for Best Picture. That's really all you need to say. And then five, Don't Look Up, kind of the same situation. It's Adam McKay. He's gotten nominated for his past scripts. I don't think he'll get into director, but I do think he will. He'll get into writing here for Best Original Screenplay. Those five I'm pretty confident in, but the only other one I could see sneaking in would be Come On, Come On. Mike Mills has previously gotten for 20th Century Women. So it's certainly possible, but I don't think so right now. I don't know who I would kick out for that. If King Richard moves to adapted, then I would say Come On, Come On gets in. But yeah, those would be the easy top six, and outside of it, maybe Mass, maybe Spencer, but I doubt it. And then finally, within the above the line predictions here, we'll do a technical prediction video later. In Best Adapted Screenplay, we have number one, Power of the Dog. This is where they are going to award Jane Campion. Since I, right now at least, don't think she will be winning director, I think this is where you will award her. She's deserving of some sort of recognition for this movie, and I think they will agree with that, and they will give it to her here. Seems like a pretty easy front runner right now still. Number two, West Side Story. Tony Kushner helped with developing this film for a more modern take, even though it's still set in the past. They've apparently, him and Spielberg, changed a decent amount about the movie. I know the original movie, the only one it didn't win, the only Oscar category it didn't win was screenplay, so you never know. But it was still nominated for that. So I think it'll still have enough power to get in to adapt a screenplay. The number three, The Lost Daughter. It's Maggie Gyllenhaal. There's a lot of buzz surrounding her in this movie, and in particular the screenplay. It seems like there's a lot of hype surrounding that, and I think she'll probably get in. And then number four, Passing, another actor turned director writer with Rebecca Hall. And I think this is another opportunity where you can give them the honor of a nomination, even though their movie won't get a ton of attention elsewhere. And in my fifth spot, I have Dune. Lots of people don't have this movie getting into adapted. I do, just because lots of people, I've said this in a previous part, I think, but lots of people understand that it is a very difficult book to adapt. Many people have said it is impossible to do so. And this one managed to do it. And I think that is worthy enough of a nomination. And then on the outside looking in, I do think The Last Duel is my number six. It's Ben Affleck teaming up with Matt Damon. And also you also have Nicole in there. I think people underestimated this movie all the way back. People always said House of Gucci is going to be the bigger and better contender. I've always liked and rooted more for The Last Duel. I always thought it was going to be the better movie and the bigger contender. Neither of them are really huge contenders now, but I think if either of them were to become a big contender, I would still stick with The Last Duel. Box office flopping aside, I still think it is the overall bigger contender. I don't think either of them will get much Oscar love, but I would say The Last Duel could definitely get in for screenplay. And then maybe Nightmare Alley. I think it could. It's tricky with this category. It seems like a lot of the nominees will be for movies that don't get into picture, which will be nice. But yeah, I don't think right now Nightmare Alley will get in there. And maybe Coda, if it manages to get into picture, will get a nomination here. Okay, and now on to Best Cinematography, where my number one is still Tragedy of Macbeth, even though I doubt it will get into a lot of the bigger categories like picture, director, and such. I do think the cinematography is being praised a lot. I think it's black and white, which they like a lot in general. So I think that will still get in there, and I think it could probably win, but I'm less sure of that. But it's still my number one. My number two, Dune, looks beautiful. It's Greg Fraser. It's one of the it's a technical juggernaut, so it's probably going to get into cinematography. Three, West Side Story. Lots of people haven't had this in. I've had this in here for a while. I think lots of people are adding it now, but just based off the trailers, I always thought it looked really, really visually spectacular, like in the set pieces and the way it's shot and cinematography look very well done. So I've added in there. I think it could potentially win too. These top three I think all could win. Maybe even my number four. My number four is The Power of the Dog. Some people also don't have this in there. I do also for the same reasons. I mean, I've seen the full movie with this one. It's really, really, really beautiful movie. Would be, yeah, it would be a very deserving cinematography nomination. Then in my fifth spot, I still have Nightmare Alley, even though I'm doubting it is going to get into picture now. There's usually in cinematography at least one or two nominees that aren't in Best Picture. So I think this year there will probably be two, and it would probably be Tragedy of Macbeth and Nightmare Alley. And on the outside looking in, right behind it, I have Belfast missing. Lots of people have it getting in there. Probably will, sadly, just because I don't think it doesn't seem like anything special. It seems like mostly would only get in there because it's a huge overall contender and it's in black and white. And really, you just have to put your movie in black and white, and the cinematography branch is going to be like, wow, that's some good cinematography. I'm going to have to recognize that. Speaking of which, Passing, which I do think does the black and white stuff well, and Come On, also would also be on the outside, potentially getting a nomination. But I don't think so right now. Spencer, I would have high up, probably my six or seven. Um, I think it is really deserving. I think it would easily be in my like top two or three cinematography wise of the year. But right now, I don't think it's going to be seen enough, and I don't think it's going to be overall liked enough by enough people to get in there. And pretty much everything else I wouldn't say has a good shot. I would say that's your top contenders for cinematography. On to best costume design. My number one has been my number one since May. I have Cruella. I think this will probably be the only place it gets nominations, I would think. But the whole plot and everything about this movie is centered around costumes and fashion, and there are so many different outfits that Cruella puts on, as well as the I forget the woman's name, the Baroness Emma Thompson. Easily, I think my personal favorite so far, costume wise, and I think they're gonna have to recognize it, and I think it'll win just because it's obviously with the Oscars they like the biggest, the most extravagant, the most obvious, and here I would say is the most obvious use of costume design, and I think it would be a deserving winner. Number two, I have Spencer, another movie where costumes are a part of the plot, obviously, because all of her outfits are throughout the day are picked out for her, and she's rebelling by not wearing them. It plays into the plot, which they always like. And also just they're also adapting certain iconic looks that people have known Diana has worn because a lot of people, when she was alive, focused on her fashion, like in the tabloids and stuff. And yeah, overall, they just put her in so many different outfits throughout the movie, and all of them are really good. So yeah, that's number two. Number three, Dune. Um, there's some good costume work here. With the like Atreides army, the Fremen, all of that. I don't think it's anything super special, but I think it's a huge overall tech contender, so it'll probably get in. Number four, West Side Story. I mean, it's obvious. I believe it's not even at the top five in Gold Derby, which is insane to me. It's a period piece. It's a huge overall contender. I this it's gonna get in. And then my number five spot, I have a few different movies. I'm going to give it to House of Gucci, just because, kind of like in Spencer, Lady Gaga changes her outfits like for every scene in that movie. I mean, Gucci is known as a brand for being costume and fashion related, and even if Nightmare Alley could have better costume work, I think Gucci will have more noticeable work. Nightmare Alley is period piece, but I think a lot of the outfits could look similar-ish, especially for the men. They're probably all in similar outfits. Whereas here, Gucci, everyone's changing their outfits like in every scene. So number five is Gucci. Number six would then be Nightmare Alley. And then other potential contenders, so I don't think have a true shot right now. Maybe Cyrano, maybe Tragedy Macbeth, but I doubt it. Maybe Licorice Pizza. Um, those would be the main ones I would think. Now on to best film editing, where my number one is Dune. As we've seen in a lot of past years, this is what made me predict Sound of Metal will win best editing last year and other stuff in previous years. The sound category, who wins in the sound category, is often very connected to who wins in the best film editing category. And right now, I think Dune is easily the front runner for sound. So I think, therefore, in my opinion, it is the front runner for editing. Number two, Belfast. I think this could potentially miss if the buzz dies down, as I'm suspecting it will eventually. Um, but right now, it's a huge overall contender. Lots of people think it'll win picture. It's high up in the ranks. So I think, therefore, it should get into editing, most likely. Number three, West Side Story. Same deal. I think it's one of the top contenders. So therefore, it'll probably get into editing. And I mean, it involves music, and I think it'll probably get into sound as well. So that helps. Number four, Licorice Pizza. Same thing, big contender. Probably can get into editing. I don't know how much I can explain this because I haven't seen a lot of these in the editing. I've seen Dune. The editing is good in that. And then my number five, Don't Look Up. Adam McKay is known for his editing. I think editing has both of his past films have gotten in for editing. I would have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure. Um, and as we can tell from like the trailer and such, and what we've seen from the reactions from the movie, it seems like it's going to be a very snappy, quick edit movie. Moves fast, all that fun stuff. So that's what I would have at five right now. Number six, I would have King Richard as a potential surprise here because they edited some tennis scenes. They had the nice tennis ball and the racket sound, all that, and it's very well paced for a 2 hour and like 30-minute movie. Same deal with Dune, very well paced for a long runtime. So that could also help it. Power of the Dog, some people do have this getting in there. Right now, I do not because it's slow, and I have seen one of the few complaints for the movie I have seen is the pacing. I don't personally have a ton of issues with it, but I do think especially the Academy members and their patience may run thin on this movie. So right now, I would have that missing out, in my opinion. And then other potential ones, I don't think Nightmare Alley's getting in there, especially not after the reviews. Um, Tick Tick Boom has potential, maybe being the Ricardos, and that's probably it. Yeah. Now on to best production design. Number one, Dune, still my number one. As I've said in the previous categories, it's going to be a tech sweeper. The production design was really good here, especially for all the different locations. I know some people will say, "Oh, it's just in a desert," but had to build like that city and such. I think, and all of it seemed so real. So I think Dune, easy number one. Um, this is where it gets tricky. At two, I still do number two. I do still have Nightmare Alley getting in. Um, I think even if it is not getting into picture, I do think, especially based off the trailer, the production design does look really good in there. And it's a period piece, which also helps in on the carnival and such. I think it'll get in. Number three, French Dispatch, probably going to be its only nomination come Oscar night. And yeah, I think as we've seen from the reviews, like back in August, the production design is very, very good here. Um, so I think it'll definitely get in. Number four, West Side Story, period piece, as we and also in the trailers, the production design just looks really, really good. And number five, I have a few movies fighting out for it. Between a few different movies, Tragedy Macbeth and Cyrano are the two I'm considering right now. Right now, I'm going to I think I'm going to give it to Cyrano right now, with Tragedy Macbeth maybe sneaking in. Also, keep your eye out for Spencer and The Power of the Dog, and maybe being the Ricardos, maybe Belfast, but maybe Last Duel. You never know. But now, best sound number one, as I said previously, Dune. I don't think anything is going to even come close to being this. Besides, maybe my number two, West Side Story. It's a musical. They love the musicals often get into sound, and it's very sound related in a lot of ways. So yeah, number three, No Time to Die. I like most of the past Bond films. I think got nominated here. They do some fun stuff with the sound, especially starting an explosion and hearing loss. I do think the sound design is very well done in this movie, so I would have that getting in. Now, I Nightmare Alley. That's a tricky question. I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know if sound design is still a big part of it. I know it's probably not going to be getting into picture now, is what I would say. So would it therefore get into sound? Yeah, right now I think right now I would say it would still get in there. I think usually there's at least two or sometimes even three spots in best sound where the movie doesn't get into picture. So right now, just because Nightmare Alley, the whole buzz around that is still playing out, I'll still have that in there at number four. And then number five, I want it to happen. I really want this movie to get something. So I'm gonna have number five be The Last Duel. You know, medieval fights, swords clashing and clanging. The sound design is very good in this movie. So I think it could definitely get in there. Then on the outside looking in, number six, Tick Tick Boom. Number seven, Belfast. Number eight, Quiet Place Part Two. And the rest, I wouldn't say have much of a shot. Now on to best visual effects, another category where I think nothing is going to beat Dune, maybe even more so than in sound. So yeah, Dune is number one. My number two, I do think Matrix Resurrections is going to get in there from the trailer. The visual effects look really good. Obviously, the first film in particular is known for being groundbreaking in terms of visual effects. I think that will get in there. Number three, I don't know why most people don't have this on their uh, visual effects predictions. I think it's very likely, in my opinion. I think I would probably bet money on it getting a nomination. I have Finch as my number three, getting in there. It's Apple TV, as we've seen last year. I think they got Greyhound in for visual effects, another Tom Hanks movie. I've seen a lot of interviews with the visual effects supervisor for this movie in on awards related websites and podcasts. And the visual and alone, I've seen the movie. The visual effects in it are very well done, so it would be deserved. So that's my number three. My number four is Godzilla versus Kong. I think most of the previous movies, I think Godzilla and Kong Skull Island got in there. Maybe Godzilla didn't, but the visual effects in this movie are really well done. They may have forgotten about it because it was back in March, but I still think it's going to get in there. And then my number five, I have Spider-Man No Way Home. Kicked Out Eternals. I think this is going to be the Marvel movie that does get in there. As we've seen from the trailer, it has some of those Doctor Strange elements of like multiverses colliding and like cities on top of each other. It has the de-aging of Alfred Molina and other characters and actors. So I do think, and it'll probably be the biggest of them all, obviously. So I do think, and why not have a big Spider-Man movie nominated at your Oscars? Probably get like 2 more viewers than you normally would. So yeah, those are the top 5. Maybes who could get in there. Free Guy maybe, but I doubt it. Some people have Don't Look Up getting in. I think there's the only visual effects in that are really the shots of the asteroid. I haven't seen it, but I don't think so. Eternals could sneak back in there, but right now I don't think so. Shang-Chi also could get in there, but I think only one Marvel movie is going to get in, and I think it's going to be Spider-Man. Um, and yeah, other stuff I think those are really the main contenders there. Now into Best Animated Feature. My number one is Luca. I think Luca is probably going to win. Never underestimate Pixar here. I think pretty much all of their original films have almost always won in this category. Number 2, Mitchell's versus the Machines. This is who I would root for personally. I do think it may have lost some buzz because it was released so long ago. I wish they released it later, but they are. I have seen a lot of FYC packages and letters going around, so I do think it'll definitely get nominated. It's also just so creative, like Spider-Verse. So I think you should also watch out for it maybe upsetting Luca. Number 3, Flea. There's a lot of buzz around this movie. It's an animated, I think, foreign documentary film, which is a nice like triple combo. Um, so I think it'll get in. Encanto is my number 4. A lot of recent good buzz surrounding it. It's a musical. It's Disney's main push this year. I think they're going to push this over Raya. So that's my number 4. And then my number 5, I'm between 2 different movies. I'm between Belle and the Summit of the Gods. Right now, I think I'm going to take like a bit of a risk here and say the Summit of the Gods, even though most people are saying Belle. So that's my number 5. Belle would be my number 6. My number 7 would be Raya and the Last Dragon, and I don't think anything else has much of a shot there. So yeah, there it is. Those are my predictions for most of the categories here in December. And yeah, expect a lot more awards coverage to come. Comment your predictions down below. How wrong or right am I? All that fun stuff. And yeah, subscribe, like, thank you.